נרגילה ונשמחה, הווה, נרגילה הווה, נרגילה הווה, נרגילה ונשמחה, הווה נרננה, הווה נרננה, הווה נרננה ונשמחה, הווה נרננה, הווה נרננה, הווה נרננה ונשמחה. Oh God, thank you so much.
Shlomo Silvovich.
You guys are too nice. Wait.
Okay. Well, this is going to be awkward. This is hello, I'm Pablo Otin, and welcome to the masterclass of Pablo Larraín we have here. No, it's okay. Now this is going to be awkward. It's called Beyond Self-Embarrassment, and we are going to check a lot of ways of be self-embarrassed to really like spilling water on someone you don't know. Hello. That's what I did some days ago. Okay, so Beyond Self-Embarrassment, Sebastián Silva, we have it coming here, 4 times voted most sexy man in Chile. That's why he had to. That's why he has to had to live to New York. No, not really. But he did 6 feature films. The last one is not still out. The first 3 of them were in Chile. The last 3 in the United States. He is quite an international film director and a very, very handsome. Versatile, a very versatile one also. And actually I'm honored to have you here in Tel Aviv in the Student Festival. Thank you for coming. Actually I'm going to step down the stage and I will leave the stage for Sebastián. If he needs me, he will call me. I'll be right here. Right. And come on with your masterclass.
Yeah. So guys, it's not something that I do. I feel that nobody felt offended about having a gila. I really was trying to be liked, and I rehearsed. And I don't really do this often. I don't do master classes or I don't teach really. But I'm here to share as much as I can about my craft. And I had no name for this lecture whatsoever, so I came up with the title Beyond Self-Embarrassment. She's Nancy. No, she's not. I don't know that lady. But I think that's a pretty self-embarrassed. Yeah, that picture sort of represents what I'm here to talk about too, because the fact that you would have a picture of yourself on Google like that, it's very courageous. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the courage that takes to go beyond self-embarrassment, and self-embarrassment as a way to break all of creative blockage that you might have as a creative person, be that a writer or whatever, a painter, anything you want to express, but in this specific case, filmmaking. I did not go to school for movies, for filmmaking. I did not go to school ever, only high school. But I do believe that even though there is a lot to learn in the academy, especially if you like theory, there's also, you got to be careful with conditioning, I feel, for filmmaking specifically, because there's so much conditioning that you receive while being educated into movies, like the things that you need, or the way to write a screenplay, or the way to work with characters, and etc., that it almost feels sometimes like a religion, you know, like how when you're educated religiously and then you find out that that was not your cup of tea, and then you have to sort of like undone your religion to see again what is it that you really believe in, or what's your relationship with nature. So yeah, beyond self-embarrassment is sort of like a way, kind of like a really fast way to uncondition yourself from rules and ways of doing things. An example of self-embarrassment, which is, I'm going to show a clip from the last movie I made, but I have it in another computer, so I'm going to show that later. But it's called Nasty Baby, and the whole movie, it's based on an idea that I once had to go through embarrassment. And the embarrassment exercise was to become a baby, like to embody a 3-month-old baby, just for the sake of it, for 5 minutes in front of people that you respect. So you would just like make baby noises and you would move like a baby, but not even making fun of, you're not really being funny, you're really trying to be a real baby. And it gets really uncomfortable for the observer, yeah, and yourself, right? And you need to go through that stage of embarrassment. Even though you're blushing and he's blushing, you just go through it. Okay, yeah, you guys follow? Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna get naked, I'm gonna no, but I mean, yeah, the approach to filmmaking without any sort of, okay, now, let me rephrase this. Because self-embarrassment, when you self-embarrass yourself, it means that you fail, right? Like, you were gonna go to a fancy dinner, you were invited, and you put your fancy clothes and you were eating and all of a sudden you burped, right? And then you failed and you felt embarrassed in front of everybody because of a failure. So it's really about the fear of failure that I'm gonna start switching to, because I have nothing else to say about self-embarrassment. Yeah, no, but I think the fear of failure, it's something that, it's a contradictory thing because you wanna have that. I feel that when you go on set, I've made 6 movies now, and with The Maid, I had fairly good success in America and in Sundance. It did really well, and the reception of the movie was really great. So you would imagine that the next thing that you do is something that it's going to be very similar, like you're going to do something that you're in a safe zone, right? And I did that. I mean, it was not intentional. It was something that I was written by the time. It's called Old Cats, which I co-directed with a really good friend of mine. And it felt very similar, and it felt that there was really no risk while shooting the movie. And I could see that because we were just like smoking weed on set, and it really felt very easy to do, like the movie, you know, and like the direction of characters was very easy. It's something that we have done before. And then I just wanted to feel scared again, you know, because when I directed The Maid, or my first film, I was very insecure and I was very scared. But those things, when you see them as challenges instead of like something that is stopping you, it's really an amazing achievement to conquer them. And I feel that when you've done something that it's fairly successful and people accept it and you like it, and then you stick with it just because of that, then it becomes really dull and you're kind of bound to fail, I feel. I mean, if it's not honest, because there are directors out there that do one thing and one thing only, and it changes. I mean, the changes are subtle, but it's what they have been doing and that's what they're going to do. But if you feel like you want to explore and fear is stopping you, I feel that that's what you got to do. And like that's why for Nasty Baby, it was going to be a movie very similar to Criystal Fairy in the way we shot it and the way it was written. And just to feel fearful again, I decided to star in the movie, and I had never acted. And I decided to be the main character of the movie, and it's really not about, it didn't come from a place of vanity or, you know, ego or that I want to become a star or anything. It just felt something new, you know. It felt like I want to go to set and confront myself with something that it's new and scary, and also that it could fail, you know. So, I mean, how many people here are students? Can you raise your hand? Okay, great. Yeah, because I feel that sometimes as a student, I mean, I was never a student, but I was young once. And I remember the first screenplay that I wrote, it was like 160 pages, and it's the most annoying, boring screenplay I've ever written in my life. Thank God it did not get produced. But I remember when I was writing it, I put so much effort on it, and it took me like 2 years to write it, and I was killing my mother, I was killing my father in it, I was killing myself, I was changing the world, like everything I put on that screenplay. And it felt like a masterpiece, and I was like 18 years old, you know, and you think that you're doing your masterpiece. And thank God I didn't do it, and I started writing a new one immediately with a friend, and then that one I didn't do either. And then the third one I finally did. But what I'm trying to say is that it's very important to move fast, I feel, and just like fail, like, and never be stopped from, when you try to make the best out of something and you're just learning, you're gonna be wasting your time on sort of polishing something that it doesn't need so much polish. At the beginning, you really need to just like hit and miss and hit and miss and hit and miss, and then eventually you will find what's comfortable for you or what you're good at, you know, because films vary from, oh my God, stand up. Who's that? Pick up the phone, put it on speakerphone. Who's that? Hello? You know, I don't know what I was saying, so I'm going to show something now. That fucking phone, man. No, I'm kidding. Okay, this is something about self-embarrassment. This is not... okay, let's watch it first and then we'll talk about it. No, let's talk about it. I'll say his name is Daniel, and Michael Cera told me about this guy 2 years ago, and I had totally forgotten about his name, and it took me a day. I'm like, unfunny comedian, no. Annoying comedian, lonely person on a porch. I just couldn't find this guy. But this is a mid-40s old man or reaching 50, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But he's been doing this for a long time. He calls them comedy acts. You see, I have here comedy act part 33. And he's made 300 of these comedy acts. And this is someone that is really not scared of being embarrassed. And I just want to show you because his courage makes me laugh. He's so unfunny. And I don't mean it in a cruel way. It's a little... I love you too, Leroy. Yeah, well,
let's start with the genre question, because you just referred to the how you dislike using genres in scripts, but the one that we've just seen is like a thriller, and it's very seriously taken care by your sound and your script and narrative. So why do you give such an advice that you don't fulfill in yourself? I think that's
It's because I don't know what I'm saying. No, but I think Magic. Who here watch Magic? Just so. Okay, so Magic. It's an exception. I think it's similar to the first movie that I made that is called A Life Kills Me. And I think I've made personally 3 kind of movies, right? One kind is Life Kills Me and Magic, which are movies that are self-conscious. And by that I mean that are movies that know that they're movies. I'm not trying to trick anybody in the audience that this is not a movie. But with The Maid, and even with Criystal Fairy, for most of the time, I'm trying to make you believe that you're there with them, and this is something that actually happened, and that is given by the movement of the camera and the naturalistic way of acting, you know, and the improvised dialogue. And but Magic, it was it was an exception. It was I wanted to explore horror, and that comes from like trying not to repeat myself, because Magic is something that I started writing after All Cats, after I made All Cats, which it's a very naturalistic movie, no music at all. All the acting is very natural, and it's handheld, and it's just like I want the audience to be a fly in the wall and just very voyeuristic style and witness something, you know. Here with Magic, the ambitions were different, not higher or lower, just like very different. And I did want to do many things at once. One was to sort of solidify one of my biggest fears, which is to lose control of my mental capacities. And I feel that everybody has been there at some point, whether you smoke a joint in the wrong moment, or you did a bad drug, or you were strained somewhere, or someone invited you to a birthday party that you didn't know anybody, and then you had to go to the bathroom and sat in the closed toilet for 10 minutes just because you were terrified of strangers, you know? And like, I imagine that exponentially growing, and how fucking scary that would be. Like, to just fall into a spiral of paranoia that you can never return. So basically, schizophrenia was my biggest fear, or a mental illness like that. So I decided to start to write about that as a horror film. And then soon enough, I realized that horror was not really the genre that I was going to be making with this subject matter, because really horror, when I think of horror movies, the only one that has really scared me after I watched it, because of course I'm uncomfortable with blood, and whenever someone goes like, ah! Like I don't like that. I'm like, I don't want to be scared. I mean, it is scary, but it's just jarring. It's not scary. It doesn't contain real fear when someone scares you like that. It's so easy, you know. They can scare you like that while being in the ocean, plain daylight. It's just surprise, you know. So it was not going to be horror, and it was going to be a psychological thriller. So I Wikipedia that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm doing. It's a psychological thriller. And then I started thinking about movies that had disturbed me. And well, the only horror movie I think is The Exorcist that really made me scared every time I watch it or even talk about it. Now I'm feeling slightly scared, as I mentioned it. But also Polanski, like early Polanski, not early, but like late 60s and early 70s Polanski, especially The Tenant and Rosemary's Baby. Those two movies specifically have this very specific tone, which was a mix of tragedy and comedy that I never saw the after in any movie. That it was like a very seductive, sort of like interesting story where there were very grotesque characters like Ruth Gordon in Rosemary's Baby. Like she's like a total cartoon character in that movie, together with her husband and the group of freaks that run the cult, you know? Like they look like cartoons, you know, and they act like them. But at the same time, you have Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes acting completely naturally, and she's pregnant, and they want to steal her babies. Like it couldn't be any scarier, or she couldn't be more exposed, you know? And so you're watching this, and you're being seduced by the humor, but then yet scared or disturbed by the madness and the evil intentions of every character with this like weak, sort of fragile lady. And the feeling that I got watching those movies was so dirty and feverish and thick. I just felt that so dirty after watching the movie. It was not that I was scared ever really watching those movies, but they just made me unsettled. And that's what I went for with Magic. It was really a homage to Polanski, those two Polanski movies. And it was very, very entertaining to keep the atmosphere going in Magic. That was the biggest challenge, because when you decide to go for an atmospheric movie, the story of Magic is shit. It's really not even a story. It's a girl that triggers schizophrenia in the south of a foreign country. That's not even really a story, you know? But what's going on around her, you know, the characters, and like the constant challenge of Magic was to put make people feel very uneasy in the theater. Like they don't know what they're watching. Is this a comedy? Is this a drama? Is this a horror film? Is she annoying? Are they annoying? Are they making her life impossible? Is she a drag? And then we had handheld camera, but also like a lot of sticks and a lot of dollies and precious, very pictorial shots shot by Christopher Doyle, a great photographer that brought this sort of pictorial flavor to the movie. And yeah, just that challenge was what I wanted. Just like it felt like making a big, intricate sculpture, more than Criystal Fairy. That feels more that it's like you're drawing something, like a sketch on a napkin or something, and then it came out really nice, you know. But Magic was really planned. And again, going back to the comfort zone, I had never made a movie that it was an atmospheric movie, but I thought I could try, you know. And for me, it came about. Like I feel the restlessness that Magic is trying to share with the audience. Yeah.
My question's about the film's more like Diana, the maid.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's so beautiful about that work, and I think that that film specifically, is the sort of the love that you have for your characters. And speaking about self-embarrassment and looking at somebody like this, there's a fine line, I think, sometimes between sort of looking at these characters in a way that laughs with them or at them.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a beautiful movie and one that makes you deeply uncomfortable and feel like the filmmaker is unkind.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you struggled with that, or if that came up at all, and how do you avoid that?
That is very interesting. I do laugh at people, at them, not with them, a lot. And then I laugh at them, with them, a lot too, you know? And I want people to laugh at me and with me, at me. I just feel that, I've been in America for 14 years now, I've been there honestly, and I feel that, I mean, this is a little bit of a generalization, but I feel that Americans are really scared of judgment. It's like, no, he's too judgmental. Don't be judgmental, don't judge. I'm like, what do you do if you're not judging? Like, I don't know how to live without being judgmental. It's what I do. I mean, like, if you don't have a judgment, then how do you pick clothes? How do you pick your friends? How do you just, I've had long talks about judgment, and it's hard to pin it down, what really judgment is. And I feel free to be cruel because I'm coming from a good place. Like I could make fun of Daniel, and I'll be the first one and sitting with him at a table and have a beer and be like, let's make a feature film, you know? But with him, you know? Like, and I will tell him, you are the most unfunny man I've ever seen. What are you doing? I love you. That's how you... but to your question, I agree. I mean, there is this director, Ulrich Seidel. Is that how you pronounce his name? And I love his movies, and like his aesthetics are so beautiful, and it's just such a master. He really is. Like, I feel so far away from him. I would never be able to conceive movies like that. But in a lot of his documentaries, I felt that unkindness, and I felt that that he was he was pushing the boundaries a little too far, and for me, when you're like too unkind or when you're too mellow and too loving, it just becomes a little bit of a caricature too, you know, like it has happened with movies like Dancer in the Dark for me. Like, it was so tragic after tragedy after tragedy, and then it becomes almost funny, you know, to me. I was like, this is unreal, like I see Lars von Trier like, and then she's like, she falls, and then she shits herself. Yeah, she has diarrhea. Fuck her. Like, I mean, like, how mean can you be to your characters, and like, how real that is too, you know? Like, I try to keep it very real. Like, that's the thing. And I feel that life contains so much laughter and so much love and so much sadness and anger and resentments, and that I try to put everything together. So it's hard to define them. But yeah, whenever a movie is way too dry, and I don't know, like for instance, I feel that Haneke has made a lot of movies that are way too dry and way too cold and way too serious for me, but I feel that there is such an elegance there, and there is something else, you know, there is a philosopher behind those movies, so it's different. I don't know, like I don't feel the abuse that I feel from Lars von Trier or Seidel. I don't feel that abuse from Haneke, even though he's made so many movies that feel abusive in that way, but they feel that he's coming from a very smart place, so that is more forgiven. I mean, for me, I'm talking just from my perspective. But back to your question, yeah, I do love my characters, and I think he would only talk about that I just need to live longer if I couldn't love my characters, that I'm not there yet. It would be very mature emotionally, I think, to write movies about characters that you don't love, because how you can love anybody, I feel, you know, and like I play that fine line in my movies with the maid. Let's talk about like the maid. It's a character that everybody feels rejection rejection towards in the beginning of the movie, and like, but then it's at the same time as you're showing a character that is really unkind to other characters and trying to be nice to her, you know, but you're showing her context, you know, and so you're giving the audience two things. You're giving them the results of the context within the character and the reason why this character is like this. But you give those reasons slowly, so you give them time to dislike your character, and then it's up to the audience. You help them, of course, but they will realize why the maid was acting like that, and the fact that she's been in a household with a family that is not hers for 25 years, that she doesn't speak to her family, that her mind has been brainwashed, and she wants to dress like her patron, you know, and then you see that where she's coming from. And same for in Criystal Fairy, you know, I feel that Jamie is the biggest asshole, right? But then it would be so, I guess it would be really blind or judgmental from an audience member to hate Jamie, this character, all throughout the movie, because one, he's very young, right? Two, give him a break. Like, he's a gringo taking some Pedro. I mean, gringos go to Hard Rock Cafe when they travel. No, not all of them, but a lot of them. So to have a gringo in Chile taking mescaline with a bunch of Chileans is pretty courageous. So start looking at the good things about Jamie too, you know? And then he comes through by the end, and then he's empathetic to Criystal Fairy, but it took him a while, you know? He had to have a panic attack, he had to take this drug, he had to see the kindness of the people around him, and then he clicked, and then he went and sort of had a breakthrough in his life, like you know, like, and he touched compassion for the first time when Criystal Fairy opened up and talked about her being sexually assaulted. So then again, in that movie, you make the audience understand the character. It's not that I'm asking the audience to invite Jamie to their wedding, you know, or to have dinner with them, but to understand them and, yeah, love them. It's, you can love people and not fuck them or marry them or be with them forever, hang out with them. You can love them, you know. So I think it's really about empathy and understanding. Should we watch Daniel? You guys? Really? Good. Yeah.
So you talked earlier about writing things you know better, or things that are your family, your immediate surroundings, and I relate to that a lot. And I wanted to ask, if you know the feeling that sometimes you feel too meddled or too inside the story. I mean, this is a story you know because it happened to you or to your friend, and you know everything about it. And yes, you know the delicate nuances, but then it's really hard to become the writer of the story because you're too much inside, and then you can't really take the proper distance.
Yeah, I think when that happens, it means that the story is not good enough. You know, because seriously, because when the story, I'm not saying that every relationship with your family there is a good story there. Maybe not. Maybe it's really boring and like you just have cereal every morning and you go to school and then you pray. I mean, it could be really not fun, you know. But when the stories are good enough, it happens organically. You're excited about the story. It's the fact that it's coming from so close, or that it has to do with you, it becomes secondary. So you're working for the story. You're not. I mean, it comes with self-therapy. It comes with a therapy for you. If you're like sort of like exorcising demons about your dad or your mom or whatever, the way that you were brought up, I don't know, whatever it is, you know, it will happen. But you're serving a story. You're not helping yourself. I mean, then go see a shrink, you know, or both. But I feel that, again, to your question, I feel that if the story is good enough, you're going to have the primal elements to write it. And the fact that you witnessed the story or that you were part of that story, it would become secondary. And if you personally are one of the characters of the story, you need to make sure that you can see yourself as a character. And that you're not writing like then I see my mother. It's not I see my mother, then it's like, yeah, then this lady see her mother. It's not you that you're writing about. I mean, that's what I've done. Otherwise, yeah. But that's why I have my diary too. I keep my diary.
So
I'm like, what is No, I have it here.
Following that, so I'll ask you...
See? Dear diary? You gotta keep a diary so you don't get yourself involved in your own movies.
So I asked a twin question. What if, okay, this is not my story, it's a story that I know that is of others, and I'm not too, I'm not getting too lost in it because it's not really mine, it's a story I've heard of someone else. But then, since it comes from the reality, I'm having a hard time to leave reality aside a little when I need.
I think you need to just like see what's better. Sometimes reality is better, sometimes fiction will be better, you know? For instance, while shooting The Maid, I'm like, I was constantly in this struggle. I'm like, okay, we need to, what's gonna be the room of the maid? And I'm like, well, the room of the maid. That's gonna be the room of the maid, because we were shooting at my parents' house and that was her room. So I'm like, of course, let's use her room. And they're like, oh, okay, so what do we use? Should we get a duvet cover? Like, what are gonna be? I'm like, no, let's use what's there, I guess, because that's what the character would use, because that's what she uses. So there you have reality fighting against the possibility of creating, right? But then reality in that specific case served the purpose because it just gave it so much truth, you know? Even though I didn't like the stuffed animals she had on top of the bed aesthetically, I'm like, hate that fucking bear. It's disgusting. Keep it. You know? I don't want to dress, like for instance, art direction, personally for me, if you're making like a movie where you want to portray reality, I never dress sets. I really try to find sets that are already dressed, because when you have an art director, with all due respect to art directors, of course, I love them when you need them, you know, but I think so many times you don't need an art director. You just need to find a location that contains all of the things that you need, and then that's it. Things that you never thought about will be there, you know, but when it comes to art direction, you're like, okay, let's dress it. And then you take all of the reality out of the place, and then you put like a little vase with a cool flower, a poster of Charles Chaplin, and some weird, cool wallpaper shit. And it looks retarded. It looks like a TV set. And before that, you had like stained walls with shit on it, and just like a lot of magazines, and like a toilet paper roll in the corner. And it looks so real and rich, you know? So again, to your question, I feel that when reality is serving your narrative purposes, you use it. When reality becomes dull, or you need to go through a plot and reality is blocking you, then you break it and then you create something. Like, reality and fiction are two elements that you can just mix all the time. And movies would be so boring. Like the maid never got into a fight in my parents' bed. There was never a fist fight. And there was never a maid that climbed up the roof with a knife, you know? That never happened. But she locked the maids outside of the house, you know? So I made up stuff to just make it more entertaining for myself too, you know? You're like, what if, you know? What if that would have happened? It would have been so great, and you write that. Yeah, I don't stick to reality or fiction. There's no really a rule for it. Yeah.
When I'm just thinking of the writing process. When you start the script, do you know already the end, and then you work your way to it, or you still need room for discussion?
No, yeah. So just to get very practical, the way that I write my movies, I learned in this movie, I said it 2 days ago, but I'll repeat it in the Lars von Trier movie called Epidemic. There is a scene where you see them writing a screenplay, and they have this huge piece of paper on a wall. So that's what I do. I just buy a roll of paper and I stick it on a wall, and I draw like a really long timeline. But I do that once. No, I do that at the very beginning too. But I never start writing, or I never buy the paper roll before I have an ending in my head. I need to have a beginning and an end. That's just me. I don't know. There's probably directors or writers that just like start writing. They're like, it's sunlight. in a grassy field. There's a cup, yeah, and then they start making it up from there, but that's not the way I do it. Like, I really need to know what I'm saying, and there's a lot of things that just pop out magically as you're writing, but as long as, personally, again, I'm not going to say personally anymore. Everything is coming from out of my mouth. Whatever I say, it's my personal opinion. Yeah, so I try to, before I would write treatments, when I'm going to really write a feature film with dialogues and it's going to be a 100-page, from 90 to 120 pages, solid screenplay, I do write a treatment which goes from 8 pages to 15 pages. And that usually, magically, sorry for using that word so much, transform into a screenplay. Every page becomes 10 pages. And it really happens like that without even trying. So when I have a treatment, the treatment for me is how would you tell your story in a bar to friends, right? So you're in a bar and you're like, okay, listen, so Michael Jackson. He's in his living room and his noses just fell off, right? And he's like on the floor. And then you're telling the story and everybody's looking at you and like you're keeping them entertained. And as long as they're like, then you like, and then he gets shot and they're like, what? But like, that's how I do the treatments. Like, it's basically how I would tell the story to friends, you know? And with a beginning and an end, and then I write dialogue. It's really informal. Treatments for me are really informal. I don't care. You usually don't send treatments to producers anyway. So it's just really for you. So if you think of a good dialogue, you put it in, it doesn't matter. It usually becomes like a 12-page thing, and then you sit next to it with Final Draft. That's the program I use, and then you start writing the scenes, you add dialogues, and then it becomes a screenplay. And then Criystal Fairy and Nasty Baby, which we'll see a clip soon. There were stories, and they do have a pretty solid narrative structure. Like, I know how my characters are going to begin and how I want them to end. Are they going to learn something? They always move. There's always movement, unless you really try, and unless you really purposely want your character not to learn anything at all in the movie. Everybody's weird. I cannot think of any movie like that. So how much redemption do you want for them? You want, like, I usually don't give them full redemption because that seems really Hollywoody to me and unreal. You never really learn, you know, when you like smoking and then 2 months later you're smoking again, and then maybe you're not going to smoke in 2 more years, but you never really learn from one day to another. That doesn't happen. So, yeah, so I make sure that my characters, how they're going to start, how they're going to end, and same with the story, and then I only wrote the actions for those 2 movies. So only action, no characters, well, of course, scene headings, right? Not even interior or exterior, because locations were subject to also improvisation. We were just like, on Criystal Fairy specifically, we did a road trip, and we're like, okay, today we need to shoot when Jamie receives the phone call from Criystal Fairy for the first time. So, okay, yeah, let's drive. And then we're like, hey, should we like stop there and take a pee and buy empanadas? And we're like, hey, this location is great. Okay, let's have Jamie and Criystal have the conversation here in this location. So even locations are subject to improv, you know? But all the actions are written. So in all the actions, for me, every scene is very important, that every scene has a purpose, right? If there's no purpose to the scene, why do you have the scene? And if you want the scene not to have any purpose, then you need to make sure that you know that. And it's a decision that you make. But for me, the way to keep the narration going is that in every scene, I know what's moving. So new information has been given. It sucks when there is a movie that you have a scene, you receive some information, next thing they're still talking about the same boring shit, and then this next thing again, just different context, but same information. So I make sure that I'm giving different information about my characters, about the plot or the story or the surroundings, whatever it is, you know. But so actions are really extremely clear. And then we improvise dialogue based on the actions, but we talk about the dialogue. Not the words, but what needs to be said. That's how I write. Those two things. It's like those screenplays with only actions are Criystal Fairy was 12 pages, and Nasty Baby was 25. So it was way more detail. And then the other ones have been like just regular screenplays. Yeah.
What's your goal in filmmaking aside from challenging yourself? Like, what else are you looking for in the
money? Money, tons of money.
Sorry.
No, I would like to make a living out of filmmaking, and it hasn't really worked. I mean, I shouldn't be sharing this information, but I think it's good to share it with students because it's good that you don't have really much expectation of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be this filmmaker, I'll have a house somewhere. No, yeah. Just have debts, and it's okay, I guess. But I would like to eventually be able to make a living out of what I do, and I just like really like free myself through it. You know, like last night I watched Leo Carras' movie, and I was so impressed. I felt like a turd. I'm the most structured, sad, creative person ever. Like when I saw Juliette Binoche like water skiing, I'm like, yeah, that's better than everything that I would ever make, ever. You know, so my goal is to be like Leo Carras. But really to free myself creatively. I feel that one is so stuck with like things, you know, like you think that the dialogue should be like her and then him, and then music should come in, and then you're like, no, maybe not music, and then you think that you're being such a rupturist. But yeah, just like I want to be able to see all possibilities and not be fearful. So, I mean, other than challenge myself, it's money. And also, I mean, whenever you touch people's hearts, you know, or minds, it's really the biggest reward, of course. You know, when someone is like, I watch your movie, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. What? That's great. Or I'm going to fire my maid. You know, whatever results. For the maid, we had like actually a really pleasant political outcome. In Chile, the maid thing was very taboo because it's kind of like a strange heritage of slavery, right? Because it's not really clear the boundaries of what you can ask a maid to do or not to do. So, so yeah, nobody really talked about it. The salaries were really, really low. And then when we made the movie, and like with all the buzz from Sundance and then the Golden Globes, it became kind of big news in Chile. And the maids, the unions were like, oh my God, there's a movie about this. And then I gave an interview for this national network, and I'm like, hey, you guys, maids, reach out. We'll join forces, we'll fight for your rights. And then next thing I knew, I started receiving all these emails from the maid unions. And then we released the movie only for living maids. That specific, like maids that live at their employers' houses. And it was like 500 maids and me. Watching the maid for the first time. And it was fucking crazy. And after that, like the maids, all the unions got together because they had separate unions, but they all came together. Then the president sent me a letter thanking me for acknowledging the work of these ladies. And then I became the maid pet. And now they have their days off like everyone else. And there was a political thing that happened through a movie that was really about that I hated the maid, that I hated Raquel. I just hated her. No, I love her, but it was really a movie about me and her. I never thought about this movie politically, and I never think about movies politically. I feel that politics are intrinsic to any living moment of human life, so I feel that pushing politics in movies, I mean, it's a choice. It's just not, again, it's coming from my mouth. I find it just infantile and yeah, just redundant. And like, why would you get political? If you get political in a movie, you already know the audience you're talking to, and you know who are you going against you. So the battle, it's won already or lost. I don't know, but there's no battle really. When you go there and your movie involves politics, but it's not taking any side, I feel that you're steering things up for real. You're bringing opinion to your movie, and people can contradict themselves, and they can be like, no, this movie is really saying this about the maids, or it's saying this. Like, in The Maid, for example, I did not demonize at all the employers of the house based on my parents, right? They blend me the house. So. But yeah, I purposely did not demonize them because, I mean, as I saw it, my parents were pretty cool people, you know, and like they were also victims of like a weird system and unemployment and just third world country that has that reality. And yeah, hopefully we can overcome that at some point, but not everybody that is involved in that, it's evil. There's not really evil people and good people, I feel. And so, but the movie, again, like the critics in Chile got really nasty because they said that the movie lacked a politic point of view, which was completely done on purpose. Why am I talking about this? Who are you guys? Next.
Yesterday at the Q&A, you talked about Criystal Fairy as something that was, a lot of it was improvised. And then saw Magic, which you said you storyboarded pretty much all of it and was very scripted. And then here you said that you have 3 kinds of movies that you
what's the order?
I only have 2. And yeah, and if you can talk about the differences between the methods, I guess, of making these 3 kinds of movies.
Okay, so Nasty Baby and Criystal Fairy were made. So let me remember why did I say 3? Because I feel that The Maid and All Cats are very the same kind of movie. It's like social sort of drama, filmed very naturally, very naturalistically, no music, and with a full-length screenplay that I wrote together with a partner, you know. So that's one kind. Then the other kind is Magic and Life Kills Me, which are movies that, again, are movies that know that are movies. You know, it's just, they touch more genre, again. They're touching more genre, and I consider them fables, you know? And those are movies that I could feel very comfortable using score for, you know? I feel that with those movies, I do need score. Score becomes part of the atmosphere because you're building a world there, you know? It's a world that does not exist, or it has elements of reality, but it's something that you're making up, you know? So that's another kind of movie, a movie that is completely fiction. The characters touch a little, they're more constructed. You know, I don't know if you guys watch Magic, like Brink, it's also a little bit of a caricature of himself, you know? And everything is exaggerated, you know? And the looks are slower, and like the music and the way they move, it's like, it requires more care, you know? So that's the second kind of movie. And then The Boring Life of Jacqueline and Criystal Fairy, I think, are similar. The Boring Life of Jacqueline is a comedy series for the web that I did for HBO, which I made a pilot for $500, right? I just took I wrote an episode, it was like 10 minutes episode, and it was called The Boring Life of Jacqueline, which was like some mid-20s girl that wanted to be an actress, and she's like sitting in her tiny studio apartment, beige apartment with IKEA furniture, and she's like twittering for herself. Nobody really follows her, and she's unfriended on Facebook, and she eats a lot of sugary cereal by herself, and over masturbates and call people that don't pick up the phone, just like normal life, you know? And it was really boring. Like, that was the episode. It's like, Jacqueline wakes up, she's coughing, then she goes to the shower, and she blows her nose. Then she comes up and tweets, "I love my organic toothpaste." Then she goes to the fridge. I promise, this is the screenplay. Then she goes to the fridge, and then she has Fiber One cereal and Cocoa Puffs. She's struggling. She doesn't know if to go healthy or fiber. She goes fiber. She eats the fiber. Then she wants the Cocoa Puff. She eats a lot of Cocoa Puffs. She keeps on eating Cocoa Puffs. And that was what I shot. It took me a day to shoot it. We spent $500. And then it got picked by HBO, and then they gave us money to make 10 episodes of that boring show. So it was.
So that's the third kind, is it?
No, that is the third kind, together with Criystal Fairy, I think, because with the Boring Life of Jacqueline, I learned how to shoot very differently. I was doing camera myself because it was so boring that I just needed to make sure that it looked funny, right? I'm like, okay, in the page sucks. Let's see if it looks better from here. So I did camera, and then I decided never to turn the camera off while shooting The Boring Life of Jacqueline. And when you're doing video, which we're very lucky that we have video, honestly. It looks great. You can make it look like shit or even better. You can do whatever you want with video, and you can shoot endlessly, you know? So that's what I took advantage of video format, and I just shot as much as I could. Like, even though when I was giving direction, I was like, listen, Jacqueline, you need to blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, action now. And then I'm like, no, stop. But like, I would be with the camera constant, like never said cut. Like, not never, but like very little. We didn't use this latest much. And I learned to shoot like that. Like, we would shoot wides and close-ups, even details. You know, when you're shooting a movie and you're done with the day, and then you're like, hey, we need to do the details. And it's a thing, the details. It's like, okay, AD, the details. Yeah, we need to do these details. Okay, no, wait, the camera guy, where is, and like, you could have done those details while shooting whatever you were shooting. It's just you pick the camera and you shoot her doing this. On table, like a close-up of that, and then you got it in between takes even. You just got that, so you scrape it, and you're like saving time, you know? And like, I learned to shoot that way, just to like, be really, like make a really good use of my time. And that's why, personally, I'm really against makeup. I try not to use makeup in my movies, unless I need them. Like, for instance, Magic, I guess it needed it, but not even. There were some effects, but it was more of a precious, weird movie, and I don't know, I wouldn't have used it, but Chris Doyle really wanted it, I don't know. I compromised. But I don't use makeup ever, and whenever I have a makeup person, she's my enemy, but then I love her again. I bully her, and then I love her. But yeah, I'm always like, what are you doing here? We don't need powder. People are sweaty. You're sweaty. So
the easiness, I guess, of juggling and Criystal Fairy got into magic in a way, that this kind of movement and method.
Yeah, not really, because they are very different animals. So you don't want to be confused. I think it's very important when you go to make a movie, you know what kind of movie you're making. You know, you set up rules for yourself, which is, you can break them. You know, like in Criystal Fairy, I don't know if you guys watch it. You remember when he all of a sudden is looking at this like statue of a Santa Claus kind of thing, and then he's like looking at it, and then all of a sudden there's like a demon. And that has nothing to do with the language of the movie, but are like tiny poetic licenses that's what I talk about freeing myself. That's what I want to do. Put demons constantly in my movies. Flashes of demons. But it definitely influenced Magic. We shot that movie back to back because Criystal Fairy was an accident. We were in Chile. Michael Cera was staying with my parents for 4 months learning Spanish, Chilean specifically for Magic, and then the finance didn't come through. Fell through, and then we shot Criystal Fairy as a consolation prize. And then we shot Magic, the finance came, and then we're like, oh shit, yeah, Magic. And then, even though it was a completely storyboard film, and it was the most expensive movie I've ever made, and it was 70 people on set, and it was just bigger, right? But thanks to Criystal Fairy, I felt so much more loose myself as a director, you know? There was scenes that I'm like, yeah, we don't need this scene, you know, like this scene is completely unnecessary, delete it, like we don't care. And then I would make up dialogue. If the dialogue that I had there forever in that screenplay, I had this written dialogue, and I decided that dialogue was not working, and that Bryn could say something else. We could make him sing, you know. Also, when you're making your movies, you finally get to see your characters, because it's unbelievable, at least for me, how a written character really becomes a character when you find the actor, and the first, second day of shooting, you're like, this is incredible. Like, this is the character. There was nothing on the page until you finally found a body and a soul for your words, you know? So I feel that it's so silly to be on set and stick to your lousy dialogues when you could be making up amazing dialogues with a character that you're just really beginning to discover together with the actor on set. So that's how Criystal Fairy really helped me a lot as a filmmaker, and it made me way more spontaneous and confident that that it's really on set where you make your movie. You know, it's really, that's where you make your movie, because you can plan it so much in your screenplay, but then you're in a location, let's say you like pick this coffee place to make the scene, and then in front of it, there is like the best location ever, and you're like 1 block away from it. Why wouldn't you do it there? Just because it's written on the page. So those kind of things I learned from making Criystal Fairy, that things could be ever changing. You know, especially on set. It's really important that you're aware of it. And like, I mean, the more screenplay you have, the better, I feel. Because to be honest, like this style of writing only actions, it works, but not all the time. Like there were scenes in Nasty Baby that I wish I had scripted. Because sometimes the actors are just extremely tired with this kind of filmmaking. It's like 17 days and you're doing 7, 12 pages a day. So people are exhausted, and at some point, they just cannot give anymore. So you wished you had lines for them, but you didn't. So it's a mix. But I feel the more script you have, the better. But to make sure that if your movie doesn't need it, don't stick to it so strictly.
Do you rehearse with that?
No, I don't. There's something about again, embarrassment. I get very easily embarrassed. I mean, I enjoy the embarrassment, but yeah, I don't ever do auditions, for instance. I just don't like auditions. Like, I'm like, okay, pretend now you're drowning, and they're sitting in a chair like this, they're like, help! Ah! And you're like, so it doesn't work for me. I just have coffee or or beer with the people that I'm going to be working with, and if we share kind of like common sense, a sense of humor, you can tell. At least I personally can tell if I can bring things out of people, you know? Yeah, I don't do it. Yeah.
And this is a question that a friend of mine asked me to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
He's in this room, but maybe he's too embarrassed to my stuff. So I'm not going to be saying first. I'm going to ask you, are you single?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm very much single. Dear diary. I was giving a lecture, and this lady and this guy look at me. I think it's his baby. Yeah, I'm single. So whoever you are, stranger, what?
You're so funny and attractive.
Are you that guy? Are you that guy? Thank you. Yeah, I'm single.
I have a question about casting Michael Cera, and especially in Criystal Fairy, and like the way you present this kind of physical weakness. I was wondering if you wanted to explore this kind of character, because Michael Cera has a look, but most of the time people just look at it from the outside and never like, you know, try to go through the experience of being this kind of a man, you know?
Okay, his physical weakness?
His physical weakness, yeah.
I mean, he's an insect, that kid. I mean, honestly, it's repulsive. I love Michael. Are you guys recording? Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I mean, when I met Michael, his eyebrows are so amazing, and his nose, and the way he moves, and the way he talks, like he's really a delightful creature to me. And I saw so much evil on him too, you know, like, because he's really funny, though he's very polite. He's a gentleman, you know. But yeah, he can like, you can make the most evil joke, and he'll be in a corner like smiling like a creep, like a creep, you know. So I mean, I was really not familiar when Michael Cera reached out to me. He watched The Maid, and then he reached out. I had never heard of his name, and I went and met him, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? And then we became really good friends. And then I started watching his movies, and I mean, honestly, I didn't like many of them. You know, I was not really into the humor, and I liked some of them, but I like him more than anything else. And I didn't really see his movies, and then I found out that he had been stereotyped immensely by the Hollywood industry, and he was constantly playing the same sort of like nerdy, weak kid, like kind of shy but funny but cool at the same time. And he's that too, but he's so much more. I mean, he's really one of the smartest person I know, and he has such a great sense of humor. And I was just like, it was a completely no-brainer for me that he would be playing Jamie and then Brink. And we do have a project together that is called And a Lesbian, where he would be playing a lesbian, because we really have this desire to see him naked and see a vagina. We want to see him with a vagina. But I mean, that's how far I would take Michael Cera or any of the actors that I work with. Like, I really think that a good actor is a good actor, and a director, whatever, it's good or bad. But like I guess the responsibility of director is to get things out of somebody anyhow you can, you know. And with Michael, it's really easy to bring those things out. He has them and he knows, and he asks a lot of questions too. He's not one of those. I think that's a good tip for actors when you know that you have a good actor, is when they ask. An actor that doesn't ask and they're like, they just read your lousy words again, and they're like, yeah, action. They're like, they say the words and they never ask you how you want them to tell it. Like, an actor that is interested and is involved, they ask a lot, I feel. The best actors, they usually are very, not insecure, but just curious, you know? They want to know your take on the character, you know? And usually those actors don't care about line reading, which is a technique that I have that is not something that I planned. It's just the way that I do it, but I do a lot of line reading, which a lot of big actors hate. They don't like you to act like they should be acting. But yeah, too bad for them.
I noticed that you have kind of I guess in both films, Magic and Criystal Fairy, the whole concept of culture shock, of having an outside person come to a strange environment. And I think there's something that's kind of, you do speak a lot about kind of this alienated world. People are eventually alone in, I think, both films. And the whole issue, does it have anything, like, do you feel the kind of culture, I don't know if it's shock or clash, it's just kind of, like, do you feel like as a person that's originally from Chile, that moved to the States, like, are any of those kind of ideas, things that you went through when you moved initially to Canada?
I mean, absolutely. I think, like, imprisonment, it's huge in my movies. Like, in The Maid, she's in prison, and then Criystal Fairy, she's also in a foreign country, and well, All Cats not so much, but that was a collaboration. But then Magic as well, and I think I really believe it doesn't have much to do with the fact that I moved from Chile, but with the fact that I feel imprisoned. I grew up in Chile, which in the times that it was way more conservative, and I was gay since I could remember, so I felt imprisoned in my own sort of sexuality or body for so long too, you know, that I think it has to do more with that kind of imprisonment. It's more of a soul thing than thing. And I do feel also that I'm pretty claustrophobic in general. I don't panic in elevators or in room and small, you know, but I do feel that we have very little information of who we are and why we're here, and that, I feel pretty much, I feel left alone as a species, you know? I feel that we're like stranded in a little round little planet floating in the middle of nowhere, and we're like giving movie lectures. But I mean, I do feel that we grow used to being humans and having all of these things that we do, and the work that we do, and the people that we love, or the people that we long for, and then at the end of the day, when you're by yourself, you're like, what the fuck is this? Where am I? And like, I do feel that, like, a lot of existential crisis. I think I do have a lot of those, not in a bad way, in a good way, you know, but I do feel a big sense of imprisonment, and I think it goes back to your question that what is it that I'm looking for? I'm trying to free myself from everything, pretty much, you know. So I'm a filmmaker and I'm a painter, so I do it creatively, but I feel that, I mean, if I'm not doing movies, I don't know what I'll be doing. just because I need to find a way to let that out and like find ways to break blockages and just feel more free. And for the specific movies of Magic and Criystal Fairy and the foreign characters in foreign countries, for Criystal Fairy was really a coincidence because Michael was there. We wanted to make something. I had this story. He's kind of playing me, but then it made sense that we would make that movie together. But I never really thought that he was an American. It never came to me. I'm like, oh yeah, Michael, so you're gonna be Jamie, and then you're here, you have a roommate, but I never thought like you're gonna be the gringo asshole that doesn't like instant coffee. Like, that was not really, it was more of a neurotic dude. It was not a foreigner to me ever. He was just a neurotic person that happened to be in Chile, but it was not like he's gonna be the gringo asshole and represent Americans in foreign, like, yeah, I never felt that way. And with Criystal either, like, I mean, she was playing just real Criystal Fairy, which is a real lady that I met 14 years ago, and she was just playing her. And then and for Magic, I could have made that movie anywhere else, but the fact that we needed her, Alicia, to trigger a paranoid schizophrenic episode, and my shitty Wikipedia research that I did about schizophrenia said that young ladies get their episodes like in early 20s, you know, mostly. Schizophrenic triggers around that age, and the reasons why a paranoid schizophrenic episode could trigger. And I try to collect all of those reasons together because it's so sudden. Even though, again, it's a fable, I wanted her sickness to have some kind of truth to it. So that's why I made her travel to a foreign country, so she could trigger schizophrenia faster. It was really something like a very practical thing to do. And the fact that she wouldn't speak the language, and that people were hiding secrets from her, all of that contributed to her, for her to trigger that illness.
We have time for one last question.
Oh, okay. So it's over. I mean, I should have showed that the clip from Nasty Baby, because I mean, it really closes the cycle of the self-embarrassment, but we need to plug this computer.
Good.
But maybe the last question, while...
Yeah, I'm curious if you don't mind talking a bit about painting as raw material, and if you have some examples of your painting, that would be interesting.
I have them on my phone. Is that going to work? Maybe I can try to plug it there. But something that I've been doing since I remember. Drawing mostly, and then I started painting, and when I never expected to be a filmmaker, but I just started writing stories to learn how to tell stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the entertainment act of a lifetime. This is Entertainment Act 231, the Halloween special, introducing Daniel Songer.
Yeah. Go Daniel. Okay.
Hey, Daniel Songer, entertainer. Yes. You know, you might say that I'm doing comedy out here.
I'm really sorry about that. So I mean, this clip is like 4 minutes.
No, we're not seeing it.
Huh?
We're not seeing it yet.
No, I know, but it's going to be 4 minutes. I don't know if I have time for that.
Yeah. You don't have it? I will have to go.
Yes.
Is it playing? I don't know.
No.
Can we? Oh, okay.
No, הוא לא מזהה אותה.
Oh, there it is.
Almost. Oh my God.
Can we turn the lights off? Is that cool? And is there going to be sound coming out of it? Yeah. I don't hear it. Like I'm using this. Oh yeah.
That's because the sound of the
Hey, hello, Marcus. Welcome.
Good to see you, Freddie.
Good to see you too, man.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. You live in the city, right?
Yeah, I live in Soho still. I have not been out here in a very, very long time. I had an old friend that lived. Oh, this is.
Welcome. This is home.
Wow. It's a jungle.
I know, right? It's my boyfriend's obsession. He gets one every other day. Yeah. You want some coffee, water?
Water. Water would be great. Oh,
here.
Nice yard, thank you.
This is my cat, Sula.
Oh. I'm a little allergic.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sula. So yeah, now like this is where I live and work. I don't really
Jennifer.
Oh yeah. Jennifer.
You're a fan?
No, come on, it's a joke. She looks so beige.
She is beige.
Right? She looks like bread. Yes, I was telling you, like, I feel that I don't need that much space anymore, so...
God, but space, Freddie. Look what you can do with space. There you are. And where are you going? What are you doing going into video?
It's not like it's not like an extreme decision like that. It just, like, when you told me about this group show, it just felt kind of like a great opportunity to explore that subject matter.
Tell me, why is Dirty Baby right for identity and heritage? Wow.
It's Nasty Baby.
Nasty Baby. Oh, that's much better.
It's better, right?
It's much better. Yeah.
It's more catchy. But I feel that, yeah, like, so I've been trying to make a baby with my best friend for the last 6 months. And so since we started being obsessed with the idea that eventually there's going to be a creature that resembles me and is made out of my genes, and like it's such a selfish act to just keep on making babies when there's so many that you can adopt. But now I want to.
You want it.
Yeah, now I want it.
Yeah.
I feel so guilty about it that I feel that I need to pay a price, and the price is to go through the embarrassment of me portraying a 3-month-old baby.
I love that one.
Yeah. So these are pictures of me when I was a baby, when I was a nasty baby.
Oh,
yeah, like go back to this time, you know, and portray this sort of like gross, cute.
Tell me if you were done and we were pulling up tomorrow to load in at the show, what am I seeing?
So I'll be fully naked against a black background, like a black infinite background, performing. I can show you. It's really embarrassing.
Please, I would love it.
But yeah, it's part of the
Should I? Do you want to get ready or?
No, I'm not gonna get naked now.
Okay, no.
Yeah, but I'll show you how it is.
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm ready too. You're never ready for this, but okay. So basically. Okay, imagine if black infinite background, no music at all, super raw, and then on video doing something like this.
just for, to close it out for like the students, like I use all real locations, just like really, like just tips, right? That's my house, I live there, that's my cat Sula. So it's cheap, and everything is furniture, like you have everything. So I use real locations, I write about things that I know, and I try to move faster. And also I have a lot of things going at the same time. I think that's very important. Like there is so much time for directors, I feel. There's really a lot of downtime. You're not doing anything. So I feel that it's your responsibility to have at least 3 or 4 screenplays going at the same time. Like it really doesn't take much effort. I mean, writing is really a bitch and it's really hard, but it's when you're pushing for one project to get done and you've been for 6 months and people are not responding, instead of being frustrated, you just need to jump to the next one, keep that one moving, but then have another one, and if not another one, if not another one, and one of them will eventually get into place. But yeah, that's my advice. Real locations, no makeup, and things that you know about. Thank you so much for coming.